Hello, beautiful humans. I'm Jen Madrone, and today I want to talk about the last two phases of the spiritual awakening process that we've been kind of moving through over the past couple of months rather slowly with these videos. And there is a PDF in the group along with all of the other videos from the first 5 stages. So if you haven't watched those yet, you can go back and watch them. If you can't find them, let me know and I'll tag you in them. But today we're talking about the phases, finally the phases that seem a little more fun and to the point where we were heading in this direction when we started the awakening process. And those are the phases of rebirth and re-entry. And so it's often a big sigh of relief when people get to this point, because we may have started the awakening process with this beautiful vision of where we wanted to go, of who we wanted to be and how we wanted to experience life. And then the awakening process happened and it seems to crush all of those dreams as things fall apart, as traumas come to the surface, as we start to see the truth of how we've separated from ourselves, how we've turned against ourselves, and all of the illusions that we've internalized. And that can be such a difficult reality to accept. And so then we enter into the dark night of the soul and we start to process all of these things. And then from there, moving into the void where we may feel like we're dead. As well as in the dark night of the soul, may both feel like we're actually dead. While we're in the void, we're actually integrating everything that's been happening, everything that we've been learning. And when that time period of the void is over, we may need help getting out of it. I find that people often get stuck in the void and don't always know how to get out. And so if you feel like you've been in that space for a long time and you're ready to move forward and you just can't, then you need to reach out for help. And if you don't have someone else that can help you with that, please hit me up and we can talk. But these stages of the dark night of the soul and the void, sometimes we go through them multiple times. We have multiple dark nights of the soul, void, dark night of the soul, void, until we're able to move into that rebirth energy. And this is just a really important part of the process, because we're alchemizing more and more of that old trauma, that old pain, all of those things that have kept us in suffering and kept us moving from that place of the ego. And so at some point we begin to feel a little awakening inside. It's like we're coming back to life after we've sat in that place of death, of darkness, of stillness, of what seems to be stagnancy, even though there's so much happening internally. There comes a point where we feel our life force coming back to us. We feel a new excitement for life. We begin to take that deep breath and realize, okay, I'm not going to be in this place forever, and I'm ready to move forward. Because through this whole period, through all of this pain, all of this work, all of these challenges, what's happening is underneath the surface, we are reconnecting with ourselves. We are seeing finally who we really are on the deepest soul level and what we came to this planet to do, which is to just be us. Be us completely, authentically, no apologies, and with no barriers between us and life. And so that rebirth begins as we reconnect with ourselves, as we really embrace who we are, as we accept who we are on every level. And often what happens during this time period is that we also reconnect with either old gifts that we had maybe when we were kids or younger, or gifts start to come to the surface that we didn't know we had. And these are our authentic gifts that really we are soul brought in with us, you know, with the intention of sharing this with the planet. And those could be, they're quite often gifts of intuition, gifts of psychic gifts, also gifts of healing. It can be gifts of art and music and all sorts of things. There really is no limit to it. But at this point in the process, we start to allow those gifts to move through us. And it can be really exciting, it can be really confusing, it can be a little bit scary, especially when these gifts are really strong and we don't know how to use them. And usually it's a mix of all of these things, because we're stepping into the unknown, we're stepping into a new way of being, and we can start to become afraid of being judged. Once again, that, okay, if I step out, I use these gifts, I am my authentic self, there's a fear of being judged, and that can go really, really deep. And so as the excitement comes up, there's often so many other emotions that we have to work through, that we have to look at, that we have to heal, as we really start to step out as our authentic self. And that is when we start to move into the last phase, which is re-entry. And it's when we actually do start to interact in the world again, and interact with the people around us, and offering ourselves in much more authentic ways. And we find that this interaction is so different than it ever was before, and it can feel a little bit funny. It can take a minute to get used to this, because now we're interacting from a place of the heart, from the place of the authentic self and the true self, as opposed to from that space of the ego and from the mind. And so the re-entry can be a little rough sometimes, because we don't really know how to do it, because we've never done it before. And so really just taking your time with it, staying deeply connected with yourself, rooted and grounded in yourself, connected with spirit, and then moving step by step as the heart leads you, is the key to this. And knowing that all of the work that you've done has led you to this point, and now you get to share everything that you've learned. You get to enjoy life in a whole different way, and it is absolutely amazing and beautiful. However, the work never really stops. There's always more work. So even when we've re-entered life, we may repeat some of these stages over again. After a while of re-entry, rebirth, we may have to go back into the dark night of the soul and do a new layer, go through another layer, go through everything that's coming up on this layer, sit in the void, go again through the rebirth and the re-entry. And these cycles often just continue. However, it seems like they get gentler over time. The first time is usually the biggest kick in the ass. And then as we continue to cycle through them, you know, we have the tools. We understand what's happening to us. And these are just more subtle layers of refining who we are at that deepest level. And so to all of you who are going through this rebirth right now, congratulations. Enjoy it. Take your time. Be careful not to try to replace the ego with anything. This is not about creating ego 2.0 that might be more spiritual or more beautiful. This is about being 100% authentic and in your power. And so just continue to love the shit out of yourself, enjoy this process. And if you are in any part of these, any stages of this awakening process, and you're struggling, you're having a hard time with it, please reach out to me, and we can see if the work that I do with my clients would be a good fit for you. And so that's it. That's the 7 stages. I think it's taken me a really long time to get to these last 2, because there isn't a whole lot of re-entry, rebirth, energy collectively. It kind of comes a little bit, and then collectively we're going back into that dark night of the soul. So I think that's why it's taken me so long to get to this part. But holding space for that rebirth energy, however it shows up for you, and sending you guys so much love. Okay, see you in the Facebook group.